And tonight on Connect Africa, we're looking at world leaders converge in Nairobi, Kenya for the Africa Forward Summit, jointly hosted by President William Ruto and France's Emmanuel Macron. But what will be the implication of this summit for the entirety of the African continent? We explore all of these and more here on Connect Africa. But first, we give you a wrap of some of the major stories making the headlines across Africa.
Dozens of Nigerian fishermen are feared dead after Chad's military launched airstrikes on Boko Haram militants in the Lake Chad region, a local fishermen's leader has told the BBC. Abubakar Gamandi Osman, chairman of Lake Chad Basin Fisheries Association of Nigeria, said several of the union's members were missing and estimated more than 40 had died. No bodies have been yet recovered, but Osman believes some fishermen were hit by the strikes, while others drowned after attempting to flee in overloaded boats. Authorities in Chad and Nigeria have not commented, but on Sunday, Chad's presidency said it had carried out retaliatory intensive airstrikes on Boko Haram strongholds. In a statement on Facebook, the presidency said it had responded to unjustified attacks by Boko Haram, which took place last Monday and Wednesday and targeted Chadian military bases near Lake Chad, reportedly killing at least 24 soldiers and 2 generals. One person was killed and another injured on Sunday after Somali security forces opened fire to disperse an opposition-led protest in the capital Mogadishu, according to opposition figures and witnesses, deepening tensions just days before President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud's term expires. The demonstration, organized under the slogan Darin Heals Kabab, which means solidarity with the people, was planned at around 10 locations across the capital to denounce recent government-ordered evictions that have displaced thousands. Opposition leaders said authorities restricted the protests to a single stadium and imposed sweeping movement controls, blocking major roads and surrounding the homes of key opposition figures. Despite the restrictions, dozens gathered in the Daniel district, where witnesses say security forces opened fire to break up the crowd. A massive air and sea search was launched by the United States military, Moroccan and allied forces in the Cap Dra training area after the service members went missing last Saturday. In a statement, Morocco's army said a body had been recovered from the sea on Saturday. The 2 soldiers went missing near a cliff on the Atlantic coast while taking part in the African Lion 2026 military exercises. A U.S. military official, speaking on condition of anonymity, told AFP late Sunday that they may have fallen into the sea, pointing to the likelihood of an accident and ruling out terrorism. The body of the U.S. serviceman was transferred to a military hospital pending repatriation, the Moroccan army said. Such operations were continuing for his colleague. U.S. Africa Command has said that the search covered more than 8,000 square kilometers, just over 3,000 square miles of sea and the coast, and included more than 10 aircraft Moroccan cave divers and an unmanned underwater vehicle. French President Emmanuel Macron has urged more investment in Africa on Sunday as he prepared to co-host the Africa Forward Summit with his Kenyan counterpart, the first such forum to be held in an English-speaking country. It marks a shift in French policy towards the continent. Paris has stressed its new outlook as a partnership of equals with a focus on economic cooperation and investment. Macron used the occasion to announce major news deals between the two nations. In all, Macron and Kenya's President Ruto signed 11 agreements on Sunday, including investments in modernized transport, sustainable agriculture, and a nuclear energy plant. Ruto said both leaders expect the summit to be a turning point toward a better partnership, but he added that Nairobi Timbuktu. But he added that Nairobi is looking to nurture a wide range of relationships, neither looking east nor west, but looking forward.
Some of the major stories making the headlines across Africa there. Wrapping up with the Africa Forward Summit, where we've seen Emmanuel Macron of France and the President of Kenya, William Ruto, there engaged in a number of activities prior to the main summit, which is kicking off today. In fact, Kenya's President William Ruto has been saying more, indicating that his country plans to become the world investment destination for digital innovation. Well, the President, who is jointly hosting the summit with the French President Emmanuel Macron, spent some time ahead of the main event today to engage a cross-section of the youthful population of Africa on a wide range of matters. William Ruto says he plans to reform education to make Kenya the destination for digital technology innovation.
There was a time we were teaching and the education was about academics and what you can cram and what you can regurgitate and what you can do. Today we are changing that to be much more experiential, so that we get more skills, we get more competencies, and that is why 60% of our education is now targeted to STEM subjects that will inform what these two great young leaders are talking about. We have had to invest more in education, making sure that they have the right education, they have the right skills, they have the right competencies so that they can participate meaningfully. Number two is infrastructure, digital infrastructure, making sure that we have fiber optic across our countries, making sure that it is accessible, creating spaces where entrepreneurs, creatives, young people can undertake their assignments, their aspirations, and drive what these two good people have been saying. In Kenya, apart from reforming the education system, putting more money in and realigning education so that it speaks to the requirements of the now, we are also investing in digital infrastructure, fiber optic. They've just said we are manufacturing now here in Kenya a lot of digital assets, whether it is phones, whether it is computers, and all that digital infrastructure. We are laying fiber optic to 30,000 kilometers already in Kenya to make sure that every part of Kenya is in the loop. And then finally, the Ministry of ICT, and I have my minister here, is now working on how to bring the rest of the world into Kenya to experience. And I'm going to ask Kate why she chose Kenya. I would really want to know why, out of all the other countries, why she. There must be something in Kenya that gave her, you know, there must be something. And it must be among the things I'm talking about. So making sure that some of the best companies across the world come to participate with us. Last year, Teleperformance, the largest BPO company in the world, set up office in Kenya. We have many BPO companies set up in Kenya. Why? Because we have young people with the right skills, we have the right infrastructure in terms of internet connectivity, and we have a very enterprising and entrepreneurial population. So in my opinion, this is the space in which we are operating, and I think every other country should be able to think in that direction, because the future is about technology, the future is digital, and AI is going to be at the center of it.
Well, William Ruto there, President for the Republic of Kenya. So what's the impact of the Africa Forward Summit for Africa? And is it really going to bring about change? Different opinions. Very soon we'll take you, in fact, to Nairobi, where all of the action is happening. We'll get Abi Ejina to join us and to give us much more of what's happening on that. But first, I want to introduce one man who knows a lot more about the continent. Adama Gaye, he's a Senegalese author, journalist, a man who wears many hats, of course, one time editor of the West Africa magazine, and also at one time the spokesperson for the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. How nice to see you in studio.
It's a pleasure.
It's been years.
And I salute your watchers and everybody in Ghana.
Yeah. Let's get to it. You've been watching all of these activities happen in Nairobi as we speak. Kenya says it wants to be the center of innovation. Other African leaders are also joining this whole conference. We've seen the likes of your president, Diomaye Faye, also joined President Emmanuel Macron earlier today for a joint news briefing. What do you see in this whole deliberation for Africa?
You would rather ask what France is looking forward by organizing in Kenya, Nairobi, this event. Clearly, the French government has realized that there is a need to pivot, to make a shift in order to recapture the lost ground because of the rejection it has been facing in many countries, particularly in Francophone countries. You know, 3 countries in West Africa have left the Francophone mold, like Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, and across the remaining Francophone African countries, you hear a lot of rumbles and grumbles. People are not happy about France. So that's what Mr. Macron is trying to do by organizing
But the question is, should we be terming that as rejection, is it?
It is a rejection because France has lost ground, because at one point it considered that the former colonies it had, 11 or something like that, they were its belongings. There was a sense of, as we say it in French, a pré-carré, an area that belonged to France. They didn't realize that progressively, with the advance of the social networks, with the internet, with the growing younger generation from Francophone Africa, people became progressively a bit reluctant seeing France meddling into their national affairs, controlling to a large extent their sovereignty through the money, the French CFA, through the French military presence, and other ways of doing business inherited from the colonial era, when France literally had the right to appoint leaders, whether in Gabon, in Togo, in Niger, and elsewhere. Right. That was resented and has been rejected. France has been trying to talk to the Francophone people, but they have not yet convinced them that France is a partner to be trusted in. That's why France has been shifting towards Anglophone, Lusophone, and other areas of Africa.
The choice of Kenya.
Yes.
Were you surprised about that?
No, I'm not surprised. To a large extent, this is something that that is part of this old top-level diplomacy that we have been seeing. It's not just France. We have seen China-Africa Summit, we have seen Russia-Africa Summit, we have seen Turkey-Africa Summit, etc. The Chinese, they did their summit in Dakar, they did it in other countries, in Egypt. So for France to do it in a country that is not speaking its language is not surprising. Furthermore, ever since these summits have been organized, and I've had the chance in the past, really as a young journalist, to attend them in La Baule, in Paris, and other places, ever since they have been created, there was an effort by France to bring, in addition to the Francophone countries, other nations. So you have seen countries like Ghana and other countries attending. For Macron to decide to organize the event in Kenya, it's a smart move. It's saying that we have to normalize. You are being part of us. We try to come to you in this time when we are being challenged by Francophone African countries.
And will it work?
Will
that strategy work for the French government? Because many will expect that they would use the traditional, French West Africa or French Africa, if you want to describe them as such.
No, it can work because the French are now in Africa, first of all, in order to mitigate their economic and financial difficulties. France has a ratio GDP, debt to GDP of 120%. It has a debt stock of maybe 4,000 billion euros. It's a lot of money. The economy is not working. The country is suffering. It has problems with its pensions.
Yeah, but I mean, comparatively, if you say that, someone in Africa would say, well, it's still better than our case, is it?
Yeah, but the reality also is that France is suffering. And that's why it has realized that the way forward is to extend its reach to other areas, African countries with the resources, the land, the mineral resources, the markets, and other opportunities arising from the continent. That's why they are coming here. But the big problem is this. It's a bit rowdy, all these things. Because, 3 years ago, in 2000, or 4 years ago, February 2022, there was in Brussels, Africa Europe Summit. Even last year, they did it in Angola. But in 2022, the European Union announced that they were going to spend $150 billion per year over 3 years to support Africa in order to counter China. But we have not seen it. Mr. Macron this time in Nairobi announced 24 billion euros, $27 billion in total. But what he didn't say is that 9 billion euros, $12 billion would come from African wealthy people.
I'm interested in that story, and Adama, you want to hold on for
Yes.
us. Let's get a little bit of what's happening there in Nairobi. I'll get back to you on that story, and also China, which President Emmanuel Macron has been speaking about. Abi Agina is an international correspondent joining us from Nairobi, Kenya now. Abi, fill us in, because you've been there, you've seen it all. What more is happening, and what's in it for Africa, by the way? Abi, I hope you can hear me. And kindly unmute so we're able to hear the points that you're sharing with us. Abi, I hope you can hear me. Okay, we'll just rework that briefly and get back to Nairobi for you with the latest on that. But when you say that this will come from African billionaires, how do you explain that?
Because the French government, they realize that they cannot carry on their shoulders the problems of Africa. They know that there are wealthy people in Africa. Recently, the African Development Bank organized last month a conference about what is termed the new African financial architecture, where they said, the ADB, that they will mop up $4,000 billion existing in Africa in order to finance Africa's infrastructure and other needs. Every year, Africa needs $400 billion or euro in order to face its needs of infrastructure and so on and so forth. So you see, France, when it say you are coming with 29 billion, with 9 billion or 11 from Africans, France is not putting a lot on the table.
President Emmanuel Macron has been speaking about China, says, well, they're becoming predatory in Africa.
You see, that's, we say in French, de bonne guerre. It's fair. They don't have another option because they were the sole player mainly in Francophone Africa, but suddenly in the last 26 years, with China rising.
China is indeed rising in French West Africa?
Yes, they have become very powerful. By the way, I wrote a book, China, Africa, The Dragon and the Ostrich. And that book showed me clearly that China has become the main commercial player in Africa. In 2000, China's trade with Africa was less than $10 billion. Recently, it has raised to 400 billion. They have overcome Europe and America. So suddenly, the French government and French president, they realize that if they don't do anything, not only will they lose the economy, but also they are losing the control of the politics and the societies in Africa. And that's why Mr. Macron, in organizing this event, is trying to bring Africans on some aspect where he engages the society by talking about sports, by talking about culture, arts, saying that we are going to return the looted artifacts of Africa, such issues in order to please the African. But the reality is that he's putting aside the big problems that we should be addressing in this kind of summit. First of all, we used to know the French government being at the forefront of promoting democracy. I remember in June 1990, when there was the La Baule summit, which is a landmark summit in France. Right. I was there. That was the moment when France said clearly that it will support African countries as long as they will commit themselves to democracy, good governance, rule of law. They are no longer talking about it. So when they criticize China of being predatory, the French themselves also are becoming predatory. They are no longer talking about the good practices of democracy and rule of law. They are trying to take advantage of the continent.
But should be some good that you should see in this summit, isn't it? You see something positive coming.
Of course. In this age, it's a globalized world, it's always useful when you see people interacting, because it will put Africa on the map. Africa's opportunity will be discussed, and people will be saying, oh, we have to rush to Africa. Right. But the French, they are good at it because they are organizing this event in Nairobi. They have also what they call the Francophone Summit, which is bigger, which involves Quebec, Canada, and other Francophone countries around the world, Bulgaria, Lebanon, and so on and so forth. So this summit in Nairobi would help maybe France reposition itself, but it has to be more serious about the challenges. We want to have democracy, we want to have rule of law, we want to have a partner who is not playing behind the scene, who is terrorists like in the north of Mali, promoting the independence of Azawad.
But if you make these claims, you'll be subjected to evidence.
No, of course we have to discuss the challenge. These are issues that are being raised by Malian people. We have to discuss it. We have to put it on the table. Why have they been chased from Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, and in many places of the continent? So these issues need to be put on the table. Last but not the least, I've been a bit largely disappointed when I saw this afternoon the French president playing soccer with some African leaders in a small pitch that was prepared for this event. You see,
it's just ceremonial to promote sports.
No, I don't accept that. Heads of state are serious people. Would you have seen Mr. Houphouët-Boigny, Abdou Diouf?
Yeah, I mean, but the times have changed. The times have changed. I mean, you seem to...
Yeah, of course.
I get that.
You can take it on that front.
That's what the youth likes, you know. The youth will be able to catch on to the energy now.
I prefer what I heard from Mr. Ruto, President of Kenya, to talk about Kenya wanting to be the leading nation about
digital innovation,
digital investment, artificial intelligence. The same thing also if you take Botswana becoming the leader about the diamond manufacturing, maybe Ghana becoming the leading nation about cocoa, and other countries becoming the hub for knowledge, for education, for fighting terrorists, for developing Africa's brand internationally, intra-Africa trade, regional integration, continental unification, as Mr. Nkrumah said it in the 1960s. Okay. So those are really the serious issues, but not playing soccer.
I get that. Adama, before we go to Nairobi, I understand Abi is back with us. Before we go there, the Senegalese president was also there. He made a few comments. You're impressed about the vision for your country?
You see, he's a young president, he's new, he's learning. He talked about Senegal having won the African Cup of Nations, that he's challenged by the African Football Association. Okay, you can take that something as a lighter mood. But at the end of the day, I would want to see the president of Senegal not grandstanding in this kind of event and addressing the internal challenges that we face in the country. Because at the top of the leadership of Senegal, you have two leaders who are fighting, two bulls in a box. Yeah. You have the problem of the economy of the country, 120 to 130% debt ratio to the GDP. You have problems about 7 billion hidden debt. You have a country that is really facing a lot of challenges. The economy is suffering. The democracy is suffering. Those are the challenges where I expect him to be showing leadership, not next to Mr. Macron.
Okay, let's head over to Nairobi now. And in fact, Abi, one more time before I get to you, let me have Adama's last take, because he has a passionate appeal to the people of South Africa too.
Yes, of course, South Africa is a disaster. What is happening there? I've seen that young Ghanaian being attacked in the street of South Africa. You see, we have said it over and over again. The independence, the end of apartheid didn't come just because the South African wanted it. Many African countries offered diplomatic passports, financed the fight against apartheid. They offered housing and hospitality in universities. And really, Africa supported South Africa. Personally,
you were there.
I had the chance myself, when Mandela was freed, to be probably the first foreigner to travel with him on his private plane, with the future leader of South Africa, such as J.C. Duarte, Bill Modise, Miriam Makeba, Hugh Masekela, and Nelson Mandela. We were on the same private plane, Grumman, traveling, and I could see Mandela going to meet African heads of state, receiving financial support for the fight against the white supremacists, the de Klerk, the Bottas, etc. So to see today these things happening, African being rejected, first of all, that gives power to foreign supremacists from America to Europe, but also it is really a sign of disgrace, ungrateful position that the South Africans have taken as a stance. I believe the same way that in the 1980s we used to say two words for the OAU, the ancestors of the African Union. We used to say, let us cancel the debt of Africa, that was a fight, and let's end apartheid. Now we must create a front, the united front we used to have during the fight against apartheid. We need to create it in order to have many Africans stand and say to the South African, we don't expect you to feed us. We don't expect you to ensure our development, but we cannot accept you to treating our people in this manner. And if you do it and you don't act against that, we are going to fight you the same way we fight racism in America or in Europe. We are going to form a coalition against the new South Africa that is being led by this racist black leadership of South Africa currently. It's not acceptable. And I think all of us, we should fight this because it is not something that we should have been paid for.
Adama Gaye joining us, Senegalese author, also a journalist, and wearing many hats, former spokesperson of the Economic Community of West African States. Grateful.
My pleasure being here.
Let's take you to Nairobi now, Kenya, where Abi Ahina is for us. Abi, tell us more about what's been happening at the Africa Forward Summit. Earlier, we lost you a bit.
Well, thank you so much for making me join you from Nairobi. Indeed, it's been a very active day here in the capital of Nairobi, where French President Emmanuel Macron, alongside President Ruto, who is the co-host for the Africa Forward Summit, have been engaged in bilateral talks between the two countries. We've also seen some strong participation from a number of business leaders coming in from West Africa. In Nigeria, we have some representation from Aliko Dangote. We've also seen the chairperson of Access Bank Holdings here in Nairobi. And the single message coming out is that Africa must push for a united front. And this is the time that the conversation around rebuilding Africa's financial architecture with the French is at the epicenter of discussions. And clearly, a lot of criticism as well has come out, especially when it comes to looking at why are the French coming to East Africa, and this is the Anglophone Africa. And of course, we have some elements of issues around this has come at a very politically sensitive time where the French has been losing ground in most of its former colonies. But really, to take you through some of the key highlights of the summit, we saw around 11 bilateral agreements were signed, and these bilateral agreements are in the sectors around transportation, rail transportation. The French have expressed their interest in developing a new railway line for Kenya. We've also seen another bilateral being signed around defense support, where the French government is also looking towards expanding its defense cooperation with African countries. And last but not least, we've also seen a lot of interest in terms of logistics. And this touches on issues around the ports and the investments, especially in unlocking trade within the continent.
Quite a long list there that we need to unpack. But Abi, help us, first of all, gauge the mood. What's been the kind of reception to what we're seeing now?
Well, the reception has been quite mixed, if I would say so, considering that this visit is quite awkward for many African leaders, considering that the Anglophone Africa is hosting this summit for the first time outside the Francophone Africa. So there are mixed sentiments that have been shared across the divide. Of course, for the African leaders, they have all but been welcoming in terms of seeing what is President Macron putting on the table, considering that right now Africa has been pushing towards having a seat at the table and moving away from aid to trade. But we did see one session where the French president had to actually take the mic on stage while another set of artists were performing, to just ask the audience to pay more attention. And this was seen as him trying to gather the command of the room, where there was a lot of the young people just trying to see how does this event relate with them. So this was some of the quick sentiments, you could say, were being observed across the room. But of course, there's also the element that French president has been gelling quite well with the athletic community in Kenya. He did his morning jog. Perhaps you did see a couple of pictures around that, and played some little bits of soccer with his counterparts. But it's a mixed bag, if I would just sum it up.
Yeah, about 1 billion euros, we understand, up for grab for Kenya itself. What's the kind of reception for that? The president has already spoken about how he wants to lead the investment in digital technology, innovation. What more, are some of the agreements that these funds may be channeled to?
So when you look at the cooperation agreements that Kenya has inked with France, is to basically expand investments around the ICT sector. And this include the laying of fiber optic and internet connectivity across the country, where Kenya is positioning itself as a leader in terms of being a business processing outsourcing center. And this is an area that has, of course, been welcomed by a majority of the business leaders we were able to speak to through the day. And in equal measure, we've also seen a lot of interest that will be aligned towards expanding logistics. And this is in line with the ambitions of Kenya, where Kenya is saying it wants to position itself as a manufacturing hub and a country that is open for business. You know quite well that Kenya has, of course, has historical ties with the United Kingdom, who colonized the country. But President Ruto is saying he's open to speaking to all sides of the divide, so long as the people benefit.
Your Foreign Cabinet Secretary has been indicating Kenya's position ahead of what we've heard from President William Ruto himself as to how this is a unique partnership emerging at this time between the French people and that of Kenya. But are Kenyans warming up to this? Because, as you are pointing out, this is not historical.
Yes, quite true, because the government is trying to see this event looking as a consequential summit where we have 30 heads of state attending, but many questions linger in terms of what will it benefit the common man on the street. So those are the hard conversations that perhaps will be unpacked tomorrow, because today was the business forum, which was more about the private sector pushing the agenda, the government. So tomorrow we're going to be having the high-level summit where the presidents will be setting the tone in terms of what they'd like to see the French do more in Africa. And of course, this is an area that will sort of give us more direction. For now, it will only be more about speculation up until tomorrow's main session.
And this statement from your president, he's not facing west or east, nor east, he's facing forward, he says. Where's that leading us to?
This is politics being played on the table, because President Ruto has a year to his next election in August next year. And he's simply saying he's trying to court both sides of the divide in regards to seeing what will work for Kenya. Looking at Kenya as a country, the economy has, of course, had a very turbulent season in regards to the economic numbers. But things are starting to look up in regards to some interventions that the Ministry of Finance has been able to put in place, like stabilizing the shilling. We've also seen a lot of interest in regards to Kenya looking at other European countries. Well, about 2 weeks ago, President Ruto was in Italy, where he also held bilateral talks. And we've seen his approach has sort of changed. He's been looking towards the East and the West in both equal fashion. And this has been his philosophy, indicating that it is time for a rebirth, where the country can no longer just rely on its traditional trading partners. The country is willing and hoping to expand its allies in regards to foreign diplomacy, as well as cutting into new territories when it comes to setting itself up for success.
I want us to deal with two issues before you go. One would be about Botswana's president making a bold statement as to what will happen to the country's resource governance, diamonds. Some changes happening there. Is that being seen as a bold move that other African leaders are wishing to go by?
Well, this is a very interesting question, because in the last couple of months, we've had several presidents coming out boldly, indicating that they want to see value addition happening at the source country. We've seen almost 3 weeks ago, President Ruto was overseeing a mining summit held here in Kenya, where he did indicate that Kenya will no longer be allowing the export of raw materials that are in the mineral dimension. We've also seen Botswana being very categorical, saying that this is an area that they will not allow to see multinationals benefit, because it has only been a conversation around extraction of natural resources, and the locals are not benefiting, and all the profiteering is going back to these global companies. Equally so, we've also seen Rwanda's president, Paul Kagame, has also been very instrumental in terms of saying, wait a minute, this is the time that Africa must put its foot down and dictate how trade should occur. Considering that the critical minerals right now, a good percentage deposits are within Africa, the DRCs of this world, Burundi, we've seen some of these countries saying we shall no longer continue to witness this level of exploitation. So it is a bold statement at the right time, and this has, of course, rubbed some of the allies in different ways. And some of the companies are looking at a very interesting season where they may reconsider their mining strategies when it comes to ensuring that whatever they are mining can actually benefit the local population.
And I want us to wrap up by having your own reflection as an international financial journalist. You've been watching all the rhetoric and conversations just at the beginning points of truly what is the Africa Forward Summit. What more are you looking forward to, and what's your reflection so far on what it holds for Africa?
Well, there's been a very interesting development. The French ambassador to Kenya has been addressing media in the local language, that is Swahili. This has sort of created a buzz among the locals here in Kenya, many saying, "This is it genuine? Is it just a show of we are together?" So there are very coded messages in that approach that we've seen the French administration pursuing. But when I look back and see the developments around how African countries are sort of diversifying from their traditional colonizers, this is sort of a welcome move, considering that Africa right now is at the cusp of becoming a powerhouse. Africa needs new technology. Africa needs to be in a position where it can adopt new partners that when they sit on the table, it has to be mutual beneficial ownership when it comes to minerals, when it comes to technology, when it comes to trade. So these are some of the hard conversations that African countries must have. And Africa cannot only be viewed in the vision of being 54 countries. When I look at Africa, I look at it as a continental balance sheet where we're saying these countries are endowed in this, these are endowed in this. When I am in Accra, Ghana, I know this is the home of gold. When you come to Kenya, you know this is the home of coffee and tea. So it has to be a trade-shaped discussions that will redefine our next decade of growth for the continent.
Abi Ejina, thank you for joining us from Nairobi. We'll, of course, be looking forward to more fallouts from this Africa Forward Summit. Grateful for your time.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back. Stay with us. When we return, we have a lot more for you here on the show.
Eko becho ake wobu noni wasumo be kume ejon shikenisa koni lahi sani akaba. Heba moje noni jiji oda ne eji tuebo alo tuefe mu kokobo o fe ni bibi je jale pena
lahi afaba fujo shishinke jomino ake makwemi hino judwan.
Good Conduct, Great Life is brought to you by
Indomie.
Tastes great.
More Kivo inside. Kivo Gari Soaking Mix. Taste of Ghana.
Hello, my name is Pamela from Customer Service. Please revalidate your account by texting your Ghana card number to 0500,000 247.
Hey, Abili, wabadim.
Madam, give me the numbers behind your ATM card. I'm calling from the head office.
An email was delivered across to our customers this morning.
Confirm if this is your bank account. 100,100,100.
Thanks for sending your bank card details.
Send the OTP now to avoid cancellation.
EcoBank will never call, email, send an SMS asking for your PIN, OTP, bank card, or Ghana card details.
Don't get played. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Hello, please, I'm calling from Customer Experience Center.
Hey, what's up?
Life. It's moving so fast. Yesterday I was in class 4. Today I'm almost in JHS. My shoes don't fit me anymore. My voice is deeper. I was watching cartoons, but now they say I'm too old for that.
The more things change, the more they'll stay the same. I still love you the same.
Come and sit, Dad.
In a world that keeps changing, Calipo still keeps making sweet memories.
I still love it.
Dad, I told you to have a sip, not to finish it.
Calipo food juice drink, making sweet memories. This advert is FDA approved.
Ghana, get ready for the ultimate athletics showdown. The African Senior Athletics Championship is coming home.
Let's go, baby!
Live at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium, Legon. Watch Africa's finest take center stage from Kenya, Nigeria, Botswana, South Africa, Zambia, and many more elite athletes from across the continent. And flying the flag high for Ghana, Benjamin Azamati and Samino Abdul Rashid. This is African excellence on full display. Don't miss it. Live at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium from May 12 to May 17, 2026. The 24th African Athletics Championship. Powered by the Ministry of Sports and Recreation, the Confederation of African Athletics, and Ghana Athletics.
Out there doing something to support their people or to give back what society has given back to them.
The sea is coming closer.
The sea was far from us. It's not this near like the way it is now.
We are losing land. Inosu, Teshi, La, Labadi, Nungua. Homes are disappearing, walls collapsing, families displaced, history wiped away.
Not just Christian Boncasto, but several areas along the coast are vulnerable.
Rising tides, relentless erosion, a coastline under siege.
The government needs to come and help as far as the sea defense is concerned.
When the sea comes home, a Joy News feature series.
For many, success is defined by one path, the white-collar dream.
I want to be a software engineer. I want to be a banker.
But when that door doesn't open, does it mean your story is over?
No, because there are other paths.
Paths built on passion, creativity, and courage.
From season 1 to 3, we've met dreamers who turned rejection into redirection.
They wanted to silence me.
And built success beyond the titles.
As the general manager for Kenya Pharma, I felt this challenge right deep that I should work in the area of my gifting. I started writing.
Now, season 4 is here.
New stories.
I remember one kid who walked into my class and looked and said, "You are from Africa, right?" And I said, "Yes, that's why you are so black."
Deeper lessons.
I haven't been to sixth form, I haven't been to university. So everything that you hear me do, I've learned on the job.
More proof that the trail doesn't end when the white-collar job door closes.
I did attend an auditioning for Emirates cabin crew members, but I was not selected.
This is not just a show, it's a movement.
The Career Trail Season 4 with Irene Edubia-Eni shows every Saturday at 4 p.m. on Joy Learning TV and 6:30 p.m. on Joy News.
The Career Trail, your success journey begins here.
Tamila last here on Connect Africa with me, Blessed Sogah. Until then, log on to myjoyonline.com. More stories there for you. Thanks for your company. We'll see you next time. Bye.
In 2025, the Bank of Ghana reported a loss of 15.63 billion Ghana cedis. But without one major move, that loss would have been 33.19 billion Ghana cedis.
So what actually changed the picture? Gold. The bank sold refined gold it had accumulated under its domestic gold purchase program.
The gold was bought mainly in 2023 and 2024, when prices were relatively lower. By 2025, prices had increased. So when the bank sold it, it made 9.57 billion Ghana cedis in profit.
And there is also the savings jar effect, past gains from rising gold prices that were not actually recorded immediately.
When the gold was sold, those gains were released, adding 7.99 billion Ghana cedis.
So in total, gold delivered 17.56 billion Ghana cedis in relief. Without it, the loss jumped to 33.19 billion Ghana cedis.
So now, what was actually driving the losses underneath?
16.73 billion Ghana cedis open market operations. This is the bank paying commercial banks to hold on to excess cedis instead of lending them out. It's a standard tool used to reduce money in circulation in the economy, just to cool down inflation. But in 2025, it came at a very high cost, and that's 16.73 billion Ghana cedis.
9.05 billion Ghana cedis from other gold program losses. These are trading and operational losses outside the main gold sale, including the wind down of gold for oil program.
The exchange rate, 5.47 billion Ghana cedis stronger cedi impact. The cedi moved from 14.7 Ghana cedis to 10 cedis 45 pesos per dollar. That sounds positive, but only for importers. Here's the issue. The bank actually holds a lot of its assets in dollar terms. So when the cedi strengthens, these dollar assets lose value when converted back into cedi, leading to 5.47 billion Ghana cedis loss.
3.29 billion Ghana cedis from personnel costs. Staff costs increased significantly, driven by a rise in employee numbers.
Just note that gold didn't solve the problem. It actually just absorbed the shock.
And without that gold intervention, the bank's 2025 financial position would have been far worse.
I was born in 1999.